That's right, Lee. That big news tonight. Within the past hour, former President Trump appearing in public for the first time since Saturday's assassination attempt.
He had a bandage on his ear from the shooting, walking onto the floor of the Republican National Convention to cheers and standing next to his pick for vice president, Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio. We have a team of reporters covering all angles of the story tonight.
Josh Einiger is in Pennsylvania with the latest on Saturday's shootings. And Kimberly Richardson in Milwaukee with a look at how that shooting has impacted security for the Republican National Convention.
But we begin with CeFaan Kim and the scene unfolding at the RNC a short time ago. CeFaan?
Well, Saturday, for the first time since being rushed off a stage in Pennsylvania, former President Trump was back tonight in front of a sea of supporters. And with new energy injected into his campaign, he unveiled his running mate. Sources say this came down to chemistry. That and the former president wanted to pass the baton. At 39 years old, J.D. Vance is seen as one of the faces of the future of the GOP. Former President Donald Trump showered with a hero's welcome after surviving an assassination attempt. 50,000 attendees and 2,400 Republican delegates in Milwaukee today for day one of the RNC. Trump with a giant bandage over his right ear and his VP pick by his side. Former Never Trumper and current Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. The newly minted GOP VP nominee speaking tonight on Fox News.
What are Republicans running on? Delivering the peace and prosperity that Donald Trump already delivered in his 4 years. What are Democrats running on? Lies and complete distortions of people's records.
It was the pick the former president's son, Donald Jr., had been pushing for. Sources say he saw Vance as a man who would not stab his father in the back, a reference to former Vice President Mike Pence.
I'm super excited because I know the man, I know the character, I know his resolve. There's no weaknesses there. I'm incredibly excited. JD's become a really good friend of mine over the last few years. I think he helps us across the board in so many of the swing states that are going to be so critical.
Vance was elected to the Senate in 2022 after defeating former Democratic Congressmember Tim Ryan for an open seat in Ohio. He joined the Marine Corps after high school and later graduated from Yale. In 2016, Vance once suggested Trump could be, quote, America's Hitler. He changed his tune ahead of his Senate run and secured Trump's endorsement in what was a chaotic Republican primary. Now he's one of Trump's staunchest supporters.
I was certainly skeptical of Donald Trump in 2016, but President Trump was a great president and he changed my mind. I bought into the media's lies and distortions.
Vance personifies tomorrow's GOP, a populist conservative who rejects many traditional Republican views. He supports tariffs on trade and opposes U.S. intervention in foreign conflicts, particularly the war in Russia and Ukraine. He introduced a bill to ban gender-affirming care for minors and a bill that would eliminate diversity programs in the federal government. He opposes abortion, but like other Republicans, after Ohio voted in favor of abortion access last year, he modified his position. He now supports access to abortion drugs. President Biden, meanwhile, late this afternoon, leaving the White House, asked about Trump's VP pick.
He's a clone of Trump on the issues. A clone of Trump on the issues. So I don't see any difference.
Now, many had wondered how long this moment of unity and truce would last between the two parties and what it would look like when it ended. Today we got a glimpse. Democrats hammered Vance the moment he was announced as Trump's running mate, sticking mostly to highlighting the contrasts on policy positions.